Hello and welcome back to the Trick Play Podcast. I'm Simon Chaskovsky here with Caleb Peterson, and shortly we will be breaking down all the sports-related news, rumors, and drama that you will want to hear about. This week we will be starting off with our predictions for the NFC side of the NFL, where both Caleb and I will give our record predictions for every team in the NFC, so make sure to stick around and check out next week for our AFC predictions as well. Caleb, are you ready to rumble?
Absolutely. With the last week of the preseason wrapping up, I believe this weekend, NFL season is just around the corner. And with that, these next couple weeks, like we mentioned off the top, we're going to get into our NFC and AFC conference predictions. So what me and Simon did, we went through every single game that will be played this season and picked the result of each one. And there might be some interesting things in there. There might be some hot takes. We'll do that. We'll go over record predictions for every team. We'll go over who we think is going to make the playoffs, how we think they're going to do, and then we will go into some more player-specific ones like best free agent, rookie of the year, all that good stuff. I don't know how we want to go about this, Simon. Do you want to go...
Neither do I.
Do you want to go like...
This is a lot of stuff.
It is a lot of stuff. So do you want to... Would you rather go division by division, or do you want to go like records from the bottom to the top kind of thing?
I think it'd be more fun if we did divisions.
Okay.
I think if we just go record by record, by the time we're at the bottom, it's going to be pretty boring.
All right. Or from the bottom to the top, we could also do.
True. But,
Divisions?
we can do divisions. Which which division you want to start with? What's
let's start with the most interesting. Let's go with the NFC East. How'd you have the NFC East playing out, Simon?
NFC, and that is the Lions, Vikings, Bears, Packers, right? I don't have the names in front of me.
Eagles, Giants, Cowboys, and Commanders.
Yeah, I never bothered to remember the names of the divisions. But anyway, yeah, I had this one being a pretty competitive division for the top spot because I think the Giants are going to have a pretty good season. I also think the Cowboys won't be bad. I think there's just going to be a lot of competitiveness in this division, and considering you picked this one first, I assume you definitely think that as well. Do you want to start at the bottom here?
Yeah, sure.
With what team we think is going to do the worst? Okay, well, I don't think this is going to be a very controversial one. I think it's going to be the Commanders. They've got a pretty much rookie quarterback, Sam Howell. I believe he
started
was
one game
last year.
Yeah.
He started one game, yeah, exactly. So he's going to have very limited experience, obviously. It's pretty handy to be able to sit behind a starter for a season and just kind of get just a handle of the NFL as a whole for a season before really having to take on the responsibility of a starter. I think that I actually like Sam Howell. I think he'll do okay. But he is in a very tough division, and I think he will struggle quite a bit. I have them going 6-10.
6-10, okay. I also have the Commanders in last. I have them doing, so again, we picked this game by game, so it's not like you can just look at a team and be like, oh, they're a, 3-14 team. Like, you can't just say that right off the bat. And so when I picked all these games, I had the Commanders actually doing a little bit worse than I thought I would. I had them at 4-13. And now
Jeez.
That's pretty bad. But they do have some rough games ahead of them. And I picked, of course, I didn't just pick this. I picked this with some upsets in there because if you're trying to, as much of a pointless exercise as it is, if you want to try to predict the NFL season, you're going to have some upsets in there. So, I had them losing to the Cardinals week 1, which we might get into a little bit later.
Oh, wow.
Just because I think that new Sam Howell offense might have a little bit of growing pains, and there's always those couple week 1 games that you immediately
Are they going to have that many growing pains, though?
I don't know. It's the kind of thing that doesn't make sense right off the bat, but I can just see them not coming out with their foot on the gas. And then they've got a kind of brutal schedule ahead of them. They've got the Broncos, which is winnable, but I have them losing. The Bills and Eagles don't really have a chance there. I also have them losing to the Bears. So I have them losing their first 5 games of the season, and then they pick up some wins along the way, but after that, it's kind of rough from then on out because they're playing in such a tough division. I've got them I have them going 1-5 against their division because I have, spoiler alert, every other team in their division making the playoffs.
I do not have that.
So
I have one other team joining them, and
I think that's where
missing. Actually,
I think that's where.
Wait 1 second. Oh, go ahead, but
I was gonna say I think that's where the separation between our two records for the Commanders is just because, the separation is because of like how that the division is. If you value the other teams in this division as much as I do, even though the Commanders are a good team, their record will make them look worse than they actually are, just because they have to play 6 of those games against teams from their division, and I have them losing 5 out of 6. If they're in another division, if they're in the NFC South, like, do I think the Bucks, who, again, spoiler alert, I have as the same record as them, are a worse team than the Commanders? Yes. But the Bucks are going to be able to sneak out some wins against the Falcons and Saints. The Commanders sneaking out wins against the Eagles and Cowboys, not as likely, right?
The funny thing is I have the same thing as you. If we want to, we're going to jump all over the map, I feel like. But with the Buccaneers, I have them with a slightly better record than the Commanders. And I totally agree with you. I think the Commanders are definitely a better team. But when you look at those two divisions, it's not fair. The NFL is not fair across the entire thing. You will not get the same schedule as other teams. So I think that I totally agree with you. I think that Washington is still a fairly decent team, honestly. Like, they're not bad. I think it all just falls on how good Sam Howell is.
Yeah.
Like, just being handed the reins. I think a lot of people have lower expectations than they should. I actually think he'll be okay. I think he has the chance to live up to a lot of expectations that a lot of people had before he was drafted. Here it's just up to, I think he's being underrated a lot. I think he'll be okay.
Yeah.
But
I honestly think so too.
That's a tough division. Do you want to move on to the team you have in third in the NFC?
I will. Just one thing before I move on, just to further that point home. This website that we're using is cool, playoffpredictors.com.
It is cool.
It gives you a whole bunch of stats about the records that you picked. I had them, because a team plays 17 games in a season, I had them playing 13 games against winning teams, and they only won 1. That is where I think the Commanders are going to struggle, because it's really they're a good team, but they're going to struggle.
So you're
to
saying they're
wins.
like the 17th, 18th best team in the NFL? Like, they're just like, they're not bad, but they're not good yet. Like, this ain't their year.
Yeah, it's not their year, but I do think they'll see some positive things. I think they'll keep games close. Yeah. Like, it's not going to be chalked up as an automatic win.
They're a young team.
Yeah.
They'll be good.
They've got good pieces.
They'll be fun.
It's just like their strength of competition makes it almost impossible for me to say they're going to be anything more than like a 6-win team.
And the funny thing about it is I could see a lot of teams in this division falling off after this season, if not in this season. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw that at all. Yeah. So I think after this season, I could see the Commanders moving up towards the top half of this division. But this season ain't it, dog.
Yeah.
This ain't it, dog. Okay, who do you have in third?
I have
see if it's the same.
The Dallas Cowboys coming in third.
Okay, me and you are the same. What did you have for the record? Because you said you had 3 teams making the playoffs. I think that's where me and you are going to differ.
I had them at 10-7.
Okay, I had them at 7-9.
At 7-10, or.
Why do I have them at 7-9? Wait 1 second.
Do you not
on
pick
my
one
screen,
of the games?
It says, did I not? 1 second. I'm gonna quickly scan through my the cool fancy website. 1 second. Did I miss one? I might have missed one.
Yeah.
Either way, depending on which team I had them, no matter what, they wouldn't have made the playoffs. So it doesn't matter. But I don't know what game I would have missed. Oh, I also missed a Eagles and Seahawks game. Oh. Okay, well, the Eagles smashed the Seahawks.
As much as I hate to admit it, I think I also had the Seahawks losing to the Eagles.
Yeah. What other games did I miss? This is going to piss me off for the rest of the thing until I find it. Okay, anyway, you can take it. Why do you think the Cowboys are going to be okay?
I think, Simon, if you want to find it, you can click on each individual team and then see just there. So if you click on the teams on the side, and then you'll see all of their games.
Which game did I miss? Oh, Rams versus Cowboys. Okay, Cowboys win that, but
so
that still keeps them 8-9, and they missed the playoffs.
Okay, yeah.
8-9 missed the playoffs. So that's no matter what, it would have been about the same outcome.
Okay,
I'm not mad about that, but
yeah, no. I think why are you so low on the Cowboys? That is my question.
It's
to
not
you.
that I'm well. Again, it just comes down to tough division. Like at the end of the day, do I really see them beating either the Giants or the Eagles when things get tough? And the answer is truthfully no. I just don't. I'm not high enough on the Cowboys. I think they'll be okay. Like 8-9 is not a terrible record considering the division they're in. It's just that I do value. At the end of the day, I do think that the Giants are a better team, and I think the Eagles are a significantly better team. So it doesn't really come down to anything more than that. I'm also not very high on Dak, and I've never really been very high on Dak, so that maybe that's also part of it. But I mean, it doesn't come down to anything more than that. It's not necessarily something I have against the Cowboys. It's what I have going for the Giants and the Eagles. I think is more
Yeah,
what comes down to that.
I don't know. I think I'm a little bit higher on the Cowboys. I think Dak gets a little bit too much hate. Like he's not one of the best quarterbacks in the league, obviously, but he is very much
So you're not one of
good
the people
enough.
who thinks Trey Lance is going to replace him by
Absolutely.
week 5.
Oh my God, no. Oh my God, no. Dak is a good quarterback, and he has even though he has had quite a few weapons to his disposal with his entire time in the Cowboys, he has his best group of weapons he's ever had with the addition of Brandon Cooks, which is something that I think went really under the radar because of how good he is. They've got a lot of playmakers. They've got Tony Pollard. They've got CeeDee Lamb. They have still a really good offensive line, and their defense. They've still got Micah Parsons, DeMarcus
I don't know
Lawrence.
I don't know if I agree with you that these are the best weapons he's ever had.
Who would you
Like
put?
I'm really thinking about that. Well, because there's a point when he had Amari Cooper, Ezekiel Elliott
I
was
guess.
better than he is now.
I guess.
And still had CeeDee Lamb. Like I
It's
I
better.
maybe
It's
value that
better
a little
than
higher.
it's
So
better
saying
than
he has,
last season at least. Like
it's better than most quarterbacks have. It's still an elite group. Don't get me wrong. But it feels like we've seen him with better, and he did less with it. I think that's more the point that I'm trying to make.
I just think I just don't think I think there'll be a drop off from last year, but I don't think the drop off that you're projecting is like feasible because last year they went 12-5, and I do think they got better as a team. I don't think they're gonna have that much of a drop off. Just looking at everything that they've done, and you also forget that they added Stephon Gilmore too, like that the backfield of Stephon
True.
Gilmore and
Yeah, I did
Trayvon
forget about
Diggs,
that.
like.
That is
It's
going to
a
be a
it's a
nuts
good
quarterback
it's a good lineup. And do they have a tough schedule? Yes, and do I see them kind of going back and forth in terms of losing to some bad teams and then beating some good teams? Yeah, because that's what the Cowboys do. Like I have them starting off 0-2 against the Giants and Jets, but I also have them beating teams like the Seahawks. I have them beating the Giants later on in the season. I have them beating the Lions, who I think are going to be really good. But I also have them like losing at some points to teams like I had them losing to the Dolphins. I think I had them like losing to obviously losing to the Eagles both times, losing to the Bills. Like it's a tough schedule, but they're going to find ways to just luck out of some games, and they have enough talent to push themselves through to the playoffs, I think. I have them in as the 7th seed, so it's not like they're setting the world on fire, but I do think they are still a playoff team.
Yeah, and I totally get that side of things too. I think it's just tough because the NFC is going to be a monster this year. I think that's the main thing. Like and I mean 8-9 isn't really a good enough record to get in anywhere, but I don't mean that with any disrespect. If they were in a different division, they would have made it in for me. Actually, they would have made it in later on, but they would have made it in.
Yeah.
I think you probably can guess which division I'm talking about, but that doesn't matter. We'll get to that later. We'll get to the fun division later. Okay, so moving on next, why do you have the Giants in second?
Because the Eagles are better than them by quite a bit.
Yeah, okay. Okay, what do you have for their record?
I have them also at 10-7, so they win the tiebreaker.
I
the
did too.
Cowboys.
Yep, 10-7 is where
It's-
I had them as well. I actually had them in 7th, which is where you said you had the Cowboys.
Yeah,
so that
I
just
have
tells
them
me
in
that I think
6th.
I probably had. My division, I had another division actually get 3 playoff teams, and we can move on to that
Really?
later on. I did, yeah, and we'll talk about that in a bit. But I think I don't know. I don't know. I don't know exactly why I'm so high on the Giants to think that they are that much better than the Cowboys to win 2 more games over them. I don't know if I can name a specific reason. It's other than gut. I don't know. I like the Giants a lot more than I like the Cowboys this year. You said you think Dak gets too much hate. I think Daniel Jones gets a bit too much hate. I think he'll be fine. Adding Darren Waller is an insane addition for them.
Yeah,
because he's always been a very good tight end. It feels like the second he went to the Giants, everybody started writing him off almost. Like, I feel like I haven't heard anything about him. Like, he's probably like, that's just a terrific addition for them. He's the best tight end I can think of them having in a very long time. Other than, if you want to consider Evan Ingram a good tight end, then you can do that. But like, I don't know. I like it. I like what they're doing. I think they'll be fine. I think they'll 10-7 is a good record for them.
Yeah, it feels like a season where they're kind of going to tread water. Like, their receiver core is kind of rough, but the fact that they have Darren Waller as a safety blanket almost makes up for it. And that defense is still going to be really good. Like Wink Martin, I believe Wink Martindale is still there as the defensive coordinator. He's a very good defensive coordinator, and they've got so much talent, especially on that defensive line. Like, Kayvon Thibodeau is only going to get better.
True.
Dexter Lawrence, Leonard Williams. That's going to cause some problems. And, well, like, their cornerbacks are not the greatest. You can see what you've got in Deontay Banks, and you've got Xavier McKinney. Like, it's a young team, and I think they're, record-wise, I think they're going to tread water a little bit. But if the big question is Daniel Jones, if he continues to play like he did last year, then I think they'll be okay and make the playoffs, and I think they will. And Brian Dable's a good coach, too. Like, they've got such a good coaching staff that even though I don't think the talent is as good as the Cowboys, if I'm being quite honest, I still think they're going to be in a fight with them. Like, I have them, I believe.
You trust the system a bit more than you trust the Cowboys?
Yeah, I don't trust Mike McCarthy quite as much as I do Brian Dable.
Yeah, and that's totally fair. And then if we want to move on to the Eagles, because I feel like there's a lot more interesting things to be said there, considering I know there are a lot of big names in the NFL world saying that they think the Eagles will fall off. Clearly, it's a pretty good sign that both me and you disagree with them.
Yeah, absolutely not. They're gonna tear up the league.
I think that there's been so much this whole season about, like, I don't know if you saw, but there was something that came out about how Jalen Hurts' background is him walking off the field at the Super Bowl after losing to the Chiefs. Like, I think that they are going to come back and they're going to have a hell of a year. Yeah. I think I have just nothing but absolute belief in that team.
Yeah.
I think that they're going to be great. And
what are your losses for? Like, what's your record and who do you have them losing to? Because yeah, I definitely agree.
I had them going 13-4.
Same. Yeah. Who did you have them losing
I'll check.
to?
I had them losing to the Dolphins, the Chiefs. Actually, this one kind of surprises me looking back on it, but the 49ers. And is that all of them? Chiefs, 49ers, Dolphins. Who else? Where's the other loss? Give me a second, I'll find it. Maybe they went 13-3. Where the hell? All my losses are disappearing. Oh, found it. Never mind. Jets. It was the same color as the Eagles.
Oh yeah, no, I'm missing that too. I also have them losing to the Jets.
Yeah.
The rest of them are just like random upsets for me. Like, I don't think this team is good enough to pull out. Like, I have them beating the Chiefs. I have them beating the Dolphins.
Because that is the funny thing, isn't it? Because, like, well, I had the Dolphins beating them, but almost for the same reason. Like, I think the Dolphins are going to be great this season.
Yeah.
I think they're going to be really, really solid. But I didn't have them beating the Eagles because I think they're better than the Eagles. I had them beating the Eagles because somebody needs to beat the Eagles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have two.
And I'd almost say the same thing about the Chiefs.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if I fully believe that the Chiefs can repeat what they did in the Super Bowl again.
No,
I don't think they would.
We'll get to that when we get to the AFC, but I'm still high on the Chiefs because you have to be, but I do have them with the worst record than the Eagles.
That's not me dissing the Chiefs at all. That's me making it clear how high I am on the Eagles going into this next season.
Are they your number one seed?
They are.
Okay, yeah, same. And then you had the Giants.
I don't think that's well, even if it is controversial, it shouldn't be.
No,
I think that they're going to repeat what they did last season, and they won't have a lot of problems with it. No matter how tough you think that division is with the Giants, Cowboys, Commanders, they will kick ass in it. I had them sweeping that division, and I didn't have to think about it twice.
Really? Okay, I had them going 4-2. I had them losing once to both the Giants and an upset loss to the Commanders.
Yeah, I mean, that'd be pretty cool. That'd be pretty cool. I had them going 6-0. The upsets that I did give the Eagles, like when they did lose, were mostly against good teams.
Yeah.
And none of them were in the division.
Yeah, I just think division games are so close no matter who the teams are that it's going to happen. But yeah, otherwise my other 2 losses for them are Vikings and Jets. Like those are both good teams and they can pull it out if they
Those are very good.
If they have a good season. Do you want to move on
to what division do you want to do this?
Yeah, do you want to do the NFC West now or do you want to save that for later?
The NFC West?
Yeah.
I mean, we could.
Do you have a division you'd like to go to?
I kind of want to get the South over with. Because I
Okay.
feel like that's the most boring.
It is. Okay. Who do you have in last in the South?
Because I can tell you right now, the South is the most boring, and my other 2 divisions are more interesting.
Yeah, I'd agree.
Okay. Do you want to? So you want to start at the bottom again?
Yeah, let's do it. Is it Tampa?
Okay. It isn't.
It isn't Tampa.
It is not Tampa.
Really?
You have missed my battleship, good sir.
Really?
Is
it Atlanta?
I have the Falcons.
Wow.
Atlanta.
I guess I shouldn't be that surprised by it. But what?
I mean, after all the conversations we've had about Baker, I feel like it shouldn't be that surprising.
Yeah, no.
I still have them missing, obviously.
Yeah, no, they're not.
But
making the playoffs. What was your?
So
record?
you have Tampa at the bottom.
I have Tampa at the bottom. Let's talk about the Falcons first.
We can talk about
them
Tampa.
at 3. I have them at 3.
Sure. Yeah. Okay. Sure. Okay. We can talk about the Falcons first then. I have them going 5-12.
I also have them going 5-12.
Yeah. I as much as I do actually believe in Ritter, I think, and I do think he has a lot of good weapons there that they could potentially use to turn into something. I don't know, man. Every single time they popped up on my little picker screen to choose the game, I'd be like, they're gonna lose that one, and they're gonna lose that one. Nah, they won't win that one. It's just, I feel like I almost gave them a couple pity games. I don't know.
Yeah.
They're not a good team.
No.
They're gonna be bad. There's not really a good team in this division. I'm really curious on who you have at number 1, because I strangely have it being a competitive division.
Mine was not a competitive division. We'll get to that later.
Okay, sure.
So yeah, I had the Falcons at 3. I have them with the same record. I do think, yeah, you're right. Their schedule, it's not as rough as some of the teams in the NFC East because they're playing a good division. But some of these games, I just don't see them winning. Lions, Jags. There's a few that they can just if they flip a few of these games, I think they could be better. I have them losing to the Commanders and the Bucks and the the Saints and the Colts. Those are a few games they can flip, and they could do a lot better than 5-12. It's just this isn't their year. The biggest thing that I'd like to see from the Falcons is promise. I want to see Bijan, Drake London, and Kyle Pitts just have great seasons, even if they lose a whole bunch of games.
Well, that's the thing. That's the crazy thing to me. It's insane that they're that bad. And the funny thing is, I want to disagree with it, but I can't find a reason to, because I love that team. That's such a young, fun team, and I will be watching a lot of their games this year, but they won't be winning them, which sucks. Because I really want to see this team do well. I don't know. I don't see it. And I can tell you don't see it either, considering we both have them 5-12.
Yeah.
But since they're your 3rd, they're my 4th. Who's your 4th? That didn't make a lot of sense. Who's your 4th?
It's Tampa. It's Tampa. I don't think they're going to be very good.
Okay. Why do you have Tampa in 4th? Or do you want me to tell you where
as much as I'll go into my rationale. As much as I think Baker Mayfield gets too much hate, I don't see the Bucs doing too well. Baker will do better than people think, but coming out of the gate, they're going to lose their first 5 games. That's not really quite. Vikings, Bears, Eagles, Saints, Lions, all losses.
So what do you have their record being?
I have them at 4-13.
Oh God, that is brutal.
I don't think that's that controversial.
I don't think it is either, but that is absolutely brutal.
Yeah, it is.
Let's see. I had them starting off going actually 2-3.
Really? Who'd you have them winning?
Yeah.
Bears and
I
Saints?
had them beating the Saints and the Lions, actually. I don't know if I agree with that. That is an upset.
Yeah.
So that must have been one of my upsets for the Lions. So yeah, I did have the Bucks winning that.
Yeah,
I'm kind of scanning through it a second time and just like, it's pretty interesting.
It's just such
I don't know how much I agree with myself. But
it's just such a rough like. There's some rough.
Do I know what
games in
record
there.
I have them being? Because I know
Yeah.
you're gonna disagree with that.
Let's see it.
7-10.
Oh, man, you have them about the same as the Cowboys. That's kind of insane. Like I can kind of see it because they still have a lot of. I do think like. I wouldn't be shocked if 4-13 is a little bit of an overreaction if Baker plays well, but it's just like the depth isn't there. They still have a pretty good starting lineup, but like if people get hurt,
one of the best wide receiver cores in the NFL.
Okay, but Simon, you say that though, but they've had their depth decimated. Yeah, they have Evans and Godwin. Like their third receiver is Trey Palmer, and then they have nobody after that. I respect David Moore at wide receiver 5 because I'm a Seahawks fan. But other than that, there's nothing there. Their defense is pretty
100%.
okay.
And I don't.
It's pretty. Their defense is pretty good,
you.
but it's like depth. Depth is their issue. They're gonna have a few injuries, and they're just gonna like tank. And with how tough their schedule is at the start of the season, I don't think they're gonna be able to make up for it. Because like I have them losing their last four.
It's not like I have them making the playoffs.
Yeah.
The only reason I think that they would ever have that many wins is because of how just terrible that division is. It is a terrible division. Like I really like I'm not gonna say what team I have, but the team at the top has a losing record for me.
Really?
I think that this division will be home to what I think is the first team making the playoffs with a losing record since the Seahawks in whatever season they did that in.
Oh, I think someone the NFC East did that like a while.
Oh no, Giants did it.
Yeah.
Giants did it. Yeah, okay. Other than this will be the first time it'll happen since the Giants. That's what I mean by how terrible I think this division is and why I have multiple teams going 7-10. Those are padded records. They are not pretty.
That's very interesting. We're gonna have a bit of a debate when we get to my number one team. This is one of my.
I'm curious on who your number. I'm curious on who your number one team is going to be solely because I knew you weren't very big on Derek Carr, but
who's your number two?
My number two. Well, my number two is technically my number two is a tie between, which the thing gave it to the Bucks, but.
Oh, really?
I also have the Saints
too. Okay.
I technically have the Saints also going 7-10.
Okay. So that's fair. I have the Saints at 8-9. I think they will be very mid. I think they will be.
Well, that's.
I've talked to. I've talked about my friend Kean before, my Saints fan friend. We've talked about this before of how like. I just don't know what they're doing in terms of they are just treading water. Their roster isn't bad. Derek Carr's a good quarterback. He's gonna make them win some games, but it's not gonna be enough to make it into the playoffs. Like it's just not gonna.
The thing is, I feel like honestly I could see them making the playoffs at 8 and 9. Like I feel like the team I have at number one, which if you know how to eliminate. is the Carolina Panthers going 8 and 9. I could also see the Saints making it at 8 and 9. I wouldn't have an issue if that was a prediction. I could see the Saints being the top team. The only reason I put Carolina above them is because I think it'd be really cool to see Bryce Young just go absolutely off in his first season.
I think he will.
And it's almost entirely that. Like I think that Bryce Young in this absolute crapshoot of a division has the opportunity to actually make some magic with this not very good Carolina team.
Okay. Simon, I am going to... Let's talk about Carolina. I think
Let's talk about Carolina.
I think I am going to upset you a little bit. I have them also at first. Can you guess what I have their record at?
Based on how crappy you have the bottom two, I don't know. Like, do you have them like 13-4 or something like that?
I have them 12-5. I have them.
Holy
I have them
crap.
third in the conference. And I don't think let me get into this. I don't think that's that much of a stretch. You know who I see the Panthers as? The Panthers are the Bengals from the year the Bengals went to the Super Bowl. Nobody thought the Bengals would be any good. Joe Burrow had a rookie season already, but he got injured halfway through, so nobody really knows what he's going to be. They've got some young weapons, but like again, nobody really knows what they're going to be. That's what this Panthers team feels like to me. And Frank Reich is a very good coach. They've got some I think you might have to correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure they stole Ejiro Evero from the Broncos, who is an amazing defensive coordinator. I just think this team is going to shock some people. And I also think their schedule is very easy. Okay, I'm just going to go through, none of these feel controversial. Wins against the Falcons and Saints, lost to the Seahawks. These two are upsets, but beating the Vikings and Lions, losing to the Dolphins, beating the Texans, Colts, Bears, losing to the Cowboys.
You have them beating the Vikings and the Lions?
I do. And I think that...
Holy.
I think that both of those would be upsets, but I think it can be done. I don't think the Vikings and Lions are good, but they're not world beaters. Then I have them beating Titans, Bucks, Falcons, Packers, and Bucks again. Those are not hard games. Those are very winnable games for the Panthers. And just they have such a good I think Bryce Young's going to go off. He was doing so good in the preseason, and I think he's going to live up to everything and more. But they have a really good receiver room. It's actually really good. Adam Thielen, DJ Chark, Jonathan Mingo, Terrace Marshall, Laviska Shenault. It goes 5 deep. They have a good pretty good offensive line because they've got Ike Ekwonu. They've got a bunch of high picks. They've got Taylor Modon, who's really good. Hayden Hurst at tight end. That's a pretty decent offense. Defense is where it gets a little bit rough, but they still have some young, great players. Brian Burns is great. J.C. Horn is great. Jeremy Chin is great. It all comes down to health, obviously. I do think that if they're also not a very deep team, especially on defense. If people get hurt, then it's going to be really rough. But I think Ejiro Evero can elevate this team, especially on defense, to match what I think the offense is going to be with Frank Reich at the helm. I think it's going to be very good. And I just think with how easy their schedule is, they're going to shock some people, and they're going to have a very good record. I made the comparison earlier to the Bengals the year they went to the Super Bowl. Do I think they're going to go to the Super Bowl? No, I have them going out in the first round. But I think it's going to be a season that will be exciting, something for them to build on, and I think they will have a record that may be better than they actually are. But I think they're going to surprise some people with how good they actually are.
Okay. I don't necessarily disagree with anything you said, other than them beating the Lions, Vikings. I don't know.
But Lions and Vikings are really the only ones, right? And you can chalk those up to upsets. I don't think it's that much of a stretch.
You take those out, and they'd be what, 10-7? That's still a pretty good record. Yeah, you'd have an easier time convincing me of 10-7. I think.
Yeah,
I could believe that. The funny thing is, me and you both have them at the top, so we don't disagree on that. They're
gonna make the playoffs.
There is quite a bit of a gap. Well, yeah, they're going to make the playoffs just based on how bad the division is. But there is a gap between just how many... That's a lot of wins. That's a lot of wins for a rookie quarterback.
Yeah, but I think he can do it. I think he can do it. I wouldn't be shocked.
It'd be very cool.
It would be
It'd be
cool.
very, very cool. That would be it's like... What am I trying to find? It's like how everybody talks about Big Ben's rookie season and all that, and how you could just tell he was going to be a Hall of Famer just from that rookie year where he just went absolutely off, right? That's how it feels when you hear they're going to go 12-5 or whatever you said it was. That is nuts. That'd be a really cool thing to watch, and I hope we see it. I hope we see it. I think that'd be really cool. I don't know. Man. I don't know if they're that much better than the teams in that division. I think that they're still they'll make the playoffs, sure, but losing. I have an easier time believing that they'll have a losing record. I guess is what I'm trying to say.
I wouldn't be like, again, it's me going out on a limb a little bit. I wouldn't be shocked if they, were, like you say, kind of in step with everybody else at a losing record or around middle of the pack. But I do think this is not that out there of a scenario for them to win that many games.
Well, it'd certainly be cool. Which division do you want to move on to now?
So we got the
Which one do you think?
North or the West?
Or the West. Yeah.
You want to save the West for the end so I can save my Seattle homerism for then? Or do you want to save or do you want to?
Sure.
Yeah. Okay.
Sure. My North is very interesting, and I think we're gonna fight over this one.
Yeah, we will.
That's all I'm gonna say. We're gonna fight over this one.
Who do you have in last?
I have the Packers.
Yeah, I do as well. Okay. What do you have them as?
But what record do you have the Packers as? Because that's where we're gonna fight.
I have them at 6-11.
Oh. Wait, did I missed a game? Fuck. I didn't swear. You didn't hear that. Close your ears. Which game did I miss? God damn it. Why did I miss? Oh, there we go. Versus the Vikings. Okay, they'll lose that. Okay, now I have their actual record. I have them going 8-9.
Wow. You think this division is going to be very good.
I'm actually higher on the Packers than I think most people are. I think that they obviously lost their Hall of Fame quarterback, which is gonna suck. But I actually like their team. I think that I think that Jordan Love is gonna have quite a few weapons to work around. I think that he'll be okay.
Who?
He's had a lot of years.
Who?
Like who? Watson. Other people. Aaron Jones.
Exactly.
Shut up.
Exactly. They don't have any weapons. That's why I think they're going to be very bad, and I think 6-11 is actually quite generous.
Although, to be fair, Caleb, when I look at like the things that I have them, like because pulling up stats, in my thing, I have a record versus winning and a record versus losing, right?
Yeah.
Versus winning teams, I have them going 2-7.
Yeah, I have them actually doing decent. I have them going 4-9 against winning teams. I have them going 2-2.
Yeah. So
against
keeping that in mind, so that means they go 6-2 versus losing teams. I feel like that's not that nuts. That's not that nuts. I feel like they could do it. I actually, the funny thing is, I don't know. I could see it. I could see them going 8-9, which I know is nuts, and I feel like I could also the 8-9 is the top. To be clear, that is the best I see them doing. There is no way they do better than 8-9. I could see them doing worse, but I don't know, man. I could see it. The dream is there.
Yeah, I just don't. It all hinges on how good Jordan Love is, and it's why it's such a crapshoot to pick this team. And I think he'll be okay. I just don't think like he's got nothing to work with. He's got Aaron Jones and he's got good running backs, sure, and Christian Watson's pretty good, but who does he have after that? Romeo Doubs was pretty good last year, but like I don't know if he's going to be able to replicate that. Luke Musgrave at tight end, like I don't know. You double Christian Watson, and what does he do? Like that's kind of my issue with that. And the defense is okay. They've still got Jair Alexander. They've still got some good pieces back there. But for me, it's just like these Packers games are going to be like 17-10 every game with the defense trying to keep them in it, and they just can't because their offense can't score any points. That's kind of what I'm thinking for this team. I think there'll be some moments. I actually have them going on a weird 4-game winning streak in the middle of the season, beating the Broncos, Vikings, Rams, and Steelers. But other than that, they're just going to be abysmal. And I think I could even flip some of those games.
True.
Like Vikings is very much just this is a division game thing. And I could see the Broncos winning. Like, I don't know, 6-11, honestly, for me, is their ceiling. Like you say 8-9 is their ceiling for you. I think I pretty much hit their ceiling.
Yeah. And that's fair, but that should show how high I am on this entire division as a whole when the worst team is 8-9.
Yeah. Do you want to move on
Well,
to
we
your
can move on to
3?
3. Yeah. Who do you have at 3?
I have the Bears at 3.
Wow, shocker. Who could have saw that one coming? I
Yeah.
do too. But not because they're bad.
No.
Not because they're bad. I have them going 10-7 actually.
Okay.
I think that they will be great.
I'm not that
I have
far
3
off.
playoff teams in this division.
I don't have them making the
I have
playoffs.
3 playoff teams in this division.
I have only
I think
one.
that they will be
I have only
very-
one. The Bears, to me, are missing the playoffs. They're the 9th seed. So not that far out. I have them at 9 and 8.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay, so we're about the same.
We're about the same. I do think, again, those teams in the NFC East are going to be hard to beat for that last playoff spot, which is why I think they'll just miss out on it. But I do think they're going to be pretty good. I think they're going to surprise some people. I think actually having players on the team that he can throw the football to would be nice for Justin Fields with DJ Moore. DJ Moore, Donna Mooney, Chase Claypool. That's a pretty good starting receiver core. The defense is where it gets a little bit yikes. There's some players on there, but let's not kid ourselves and say they're going to be doing anything world beatery. I think Justin Fields will carry them to a lot of wins, but I think it's a team that is not quite ready yet, and I think they need defense. It's going to be like the opposite of the Packers, where their offense is going to be scoring points insane, but their defense, they're going to be playing in a lot of shootouts. And they're going to be beating. I have them beating up on the losing teams and just getting decimated against winning teams. I have them 8-0 against losing teams and 1-8 against winning teams.
Holy crap!
Yeah,
that's kind of nuts.
Yeah,
I had them 4-5 against winning and 6-2 versus losing. So I still had them beating up losing teams, just not as heavily, I guess.
Yeah, I just think Justin Fields has it to where if it's not a very good team, he could just elevate the Bears to a win by himself. But if you're actually playing a team that has good structure, then I don't think they're going to be able to pull it out. I'm very interested. Who is the one winning team I have them beating? That is very... I have them beating... Is it... Not the Commanders... Not the... I don't know if the Raiders is a win... Oh, wow. Spoiler alert for next episode, but I have the Raiders doing very poorly. Yikes.
I think I do too, actually.
The Browns.
I wasn't very high on them.
I can't actually see which winning team I have them beating. I don't know who it is, but yeah. All that to say that I don't think they're good.
So clearly it's not a very good winning team,
no,
is what you're kind of saying.
No, I don't think it is.
Okay, well.
But...
We can move on. I think that's pretty much all that could be said about the Bears. They'll be okay. They're fine.
They'll be okay.
I have them making the playoffs, but I also have them losing in the first round.
Yeah.
And we're about the same on record. And then when you actually get into the final two is probably where it'll get interesting, because really, it could be either. I don't think it's that controversial to say that it's going to be tough to pick between the Lions and the Vikings. They are two very good teams.
Yeah. Who do you have at 2?
I technically have a tie with the wins, but I have the Vikings at 2.
Me too. I also have the Vikings at 2. Okay. What is your record for the Vikings?
I have both the Lions and the Vikings at 11-6.
Okay. I have the Vikings at 10-7. And I have the Vikings just because of how competitive the NFC East is, missing the playoffs on a tiebreaker. They are the 8th seed.
Wow.
They have the same record as the 6th and 7th ranked teams and the Giants and Cowboys, but they will barely miss the playoffs, which I think one of these teams is going to have to get out of the teams in the North and the East. And I just had the Vikings being the odd man out, and that's not really an indictment against them. It's just kind of how the cards fell. Their strength of schedule is pretty high. I have them losing to, Chargers, Chiefs, Niners, Bengals, Lions. None of those are that surprising. It's just kind of me saying the Vikings are going to miss the playoffs. It's not wow, they're going to suck this year. It's they were kind of the odd team out in this simulation, and I would not be shocked if they made it.
Yeah. I kind of had the funny thing is I can say that it was definitely if this was real life, it definitely would have been a battle, again, like you said, between them and the NFC East. I think I did have them beating out the Giants and the Cowboys, so they actually did make the playoffs for me, like I said. Like, I think we kind of had the opposites, because obviously, I think you had 3 teams making it in the East, right?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, okay. So that's where me and you differ, because I had 3 teams making it in the North, right? I think I'm just higher up on the Vikings and Bears than I am on the Cowboys and Giants, strangely. Yeah. Like, I think, and the worst part about doing these kind of rankings is I don't even know if I have the logic to put it behind it. It's just gut. Like, when I look at these rosters and I look at these teams, there's just something in me that goes, nah, they suck, they're better. Like, and I think that's the case with everyone. There's a little bit of, like, whenever I do these kind of predictions, I always feel like I do better when I just trust my gut a little bit more. So that's it. I know that's not a very good reason to have it, but when it comes to gut feely, I have the Vikings making it, and I also have the Bears making it.
And that's fair. Like,
what do you say?
That's fair. I think the Vikings are going to be very good on offense. Like, they've still got Justin Jefferson. They picked up Jordan Addison, who's going to be really good. They've got a pretty decent defense. Like, they picked up Marcus Davenport, who I think might actually play pretty good for them. I think in the secondary, they're kind of rough. Harrison Smith is getting older. Their starting cornerback is the most brutal way I've ever seen to spell my name. Caleb, but it's spelled Akayleb. A Caleb. I think I will make them.
You lost me there for a second.
I will make them miss the playoffs just because of that. You know what? I said I didn't really have a reason. That's why, because I don't like how they spell Caleb. That is awful.
That's respectable. That is respectable. Yeah, no, that's like how I feel whenever I see like Simon spelled with like an E and an O at the end, like Simeon.
Yeah.
Nah, not making the playoffs. No playoffs for you.
Yeah, no.
Not allowed. Okay, well, do you want to talk about the Lions?
Yeah, sure. I think they're going to be really good. I have them at 11.
I think they are too. I do too. Yeah, no, I had them, like I said, tied with the Vikings, but beating it just through tiebreaker. I actually technically have them second in the NFC.
Really? I have them fourth.
You have them fourth?
Yeah.
I think that just shows just the difference in strengths in the NFC between my side and your side. I think they're going to be really good. I strangely don't see them winning much more than 11-6, but I do think they're going to be good. I think they will. I believe I do in my weird simulation voodoo garbage. I think I have them actually making it pretty far. If I can find how far I have them. Maybe I think I have them.
I think I have them losing in the divisional. Yeah.
I was gonna say I think I'm the same, but I'm trying to figure that out. Oh, it unsaved all my picks. That's cool. Thanks, website. That's very nice of you. I think I had them losing in the divisional as well, but I do not remember. No, I didn't. You know where I had them going all the way to the conference.
Really? Okay.
As kind of just an upset thing. And then I had them losing in the conference to the Eagles.
Okay, that's fair. Like, they're gonna be a good team.
They're a good team. They are good all around. They are a very tough team. Like with Dan Campbell's obviously a pretty great coach. I think they'll be pretty good. I don't like they're just. When I think of a team that's just overall across the board pretty good, like they've got it all. They've got it all, but they don't have anything necessarily incredibly elite.
But it's a very balanced team. There's a reason they were.
That's kind of what I'm trying. That's what I'm trying to say. It's
there's
just like
a reason they've caught on fire but they in the last little bit of last year.
Yeah. And teams like this obviously work in sports, like in any sport. When you see a team that's just balanced across the board, it works. Because the funny thing is, you don't necessarily need that big star quarterback to win. Sometimes all you need is a Jared Goff. You just need a guy who can make those accurate throws when he needs to, make those easy throws, and you can win with the right guys. And we're seeing that with the Lions. And I actually believe that they'll be pretty all right.
Yep. Yeah, and I agree. I have my Jared Goff hate, but I think he can take a team like this, not maybe to a Super Bowl, but he can take them pretty far. He can win them to division. I don't think that's that crazy. Do you want to move into the NFC West to finish it up?
Yeah, let's do it.
Uh,
50 minutes in.
Yeah. Who do you have in last?
Check your storage.
I think
Okay,
we're good. I think we're good.
You think you're good? Okay. Starting at the bottom, why do you have the Cardinals in last?
I do not have the Cardinals in last.
Why do you not have the Cardinals in last, you moron?
Okay, to be fair, they are technically like tied for last. I don't know what
Okay.
I don't know what the tiebreaker is. But I have the Rams in last.
To be fair, they're one win away from the team in third, so I guess I'm not that far off.
Yeah,
but
no. I
think that the Cardinals should be last, and I don't think it should be controversial.
They are last, but I do think that having Kyler Murray back at some point will be helpful for them,
No,
and I think they
thinking
can sneak out a couple games. I have them beating. I have them beating the Rams and the Browns later in the season. Like, I don't think that's that.
Yeah.
They're
Well, I
gonna
don't
get
have
beat
the
up
Rams
on.
doing very good either.
I have the Rams.
I don't have the Rams doing very good either.
Yeah.
Like, they're going to be bad too. But the reason I had the Cardinals so low is I was thinking that too. I actually looked up when Kyler was reportedly coming back. He's going to be gone until at least week 4. So I actually gave the Cardinals the benefit of the doubt and said, okay, past week 4, Kyler Murray comes back. And I still have them at 3-14.
Yeah, I have them at
They're
3. I have
not
them
a
at
good
3
team.
and 14 as well.
They're not a good team.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. So I'm guessing you have the Rams at 3-14 too?
Yeah,
then?
and I just found out what the tiebreaker was.
I had the Rams at 4-13.
Okay, yeah.
So, like, it's pretty similar there.
They're both not going to be very good. I have these are some fun stats that I will just like to throw out. I have the Cardinals have an 0-11 record against winning teams, and the Rams are 0-10. Cardinals are 0-8 at home, which actually lines up. They kind of sucked at home last year, and the Rams are 1-7. Like, they're both not going to be very good. The Rams could outseed that expectation. Like, the Cardinals, I think, is pretty fair. Like, they're not going to do any better than that. The Rams, like, if they do better than that, I wouldn't be shocked, but I still don't think they're going to be very good. They also have a brutal start to the season. Brutal. Seahawks, Niners, Bengals. Then I see them picking up a win against the Colts. They get a bit of a breather. Then immediately back to the Eagles. Like, you tell me that they're winning any more than one of those games. Like, there's no way that they are.
Yeah,
it gets
I don't
a little
disagree.
bit easier,
I feel like
but,
the thing is, we're gonna agree on the Rams and the Cardinals. I think they're neither team there as much working for them necessarily.
No.
The funny thing is I actually kind of want to fight with myself on how bad I had the second team I had in my division, which was the 49ers. I kind of disagree with myself now. I want to go back and fix things, because the more I think about it, the more I disagree with myself. I had the 49ers going 8-9, and I feel like they should be better.
Okay.
Yeah,
I thought my homerism
I think
was
that
bad.
they're a better team than that. How bad did you have them?
I had them at 11-6. They're the
No,
the
I
fifth
actually
seed.
the funny thing is, despite what my thing is, I actually agree with you. I think the more and more I think about it, because last year I was pretty high on Purdy. I think that I'm still high on Purdy. I think that they are a very good team, and they were a very good team, and they will continue to be a good team. I disagree with myself a lot now. I have regret. I think, I don't know. If I were to go back, like, 1 second. If I swing back through their wins, I'm sure I could probably come up with. Yeah, like, going back, I had them losing to the Cowboys. I don't think they'll lose to the Cowboys.
Yeah,
Which makes my Cowboys record
them,
even worse.
Oh, yikes. I had them beating the Cowboys, yeah.
Yeah, let's see. I had, as an upset, I had Tampa beating the
Really?
49ers. Okay.
I did not have that.
I don't know about that one, big dog. Tampa's getting knocked down a pole. Let's see. Ravens beating 49ers? Sure. Oh, wow. At the end of the season, I had Commanders beating 49ers. I'm going to keep that just because it's fun.
Yeah,
but
that's not that surprising.
And with all those changes, the 49ers go 10-7, and Caleb, guess what?
What?
They beat out the Seahawks for the playoffs.
Yeah, that's not happening. That's not happening, Simon.
Yeah, because they are tied. Because the Seahawks would be 10-7 as well on mine.
Would you have the Seahawks missing the playoffs then?
Yeah. No, if with that in mind, 1 second, I'll go back and read through I had Seattle winning their first 3 games and then losing to the Giants.
I had them winning their
And then
first
they
4.
lose. Yeah. Well, okay. And then I have them losing. They lose 2 in a row. So they lose Giants and Bengals.
Okay.
and then they get a win against the Cardinals. This one I actually disagree with, so I'm gonna go back and change that. Now that I've changed that, the Seahawks would go 11-6 and make the playoffs.
Okay.
I don't agree with myself saying that the Browns would beat us. I had the Browns.
It could be an
beating us. I
upset.
don't
It could
agree
be
with
an
that.
upset.
It could be an upset, but I have a couple upsets already in there. Like I have the Rams beating us later in the season.
That's fair. That's fair.
I have the 49ers beating us.
I do too.
I have, yeah. Like, I think
If we want to talk
with
about
revisions,
Yeah.
with revisions, like, I think, because the funny thing is, personally, I think that Seattle and the 49ers in this division will probably be a coin flip.
Yeah,
It's
I
kind of
agree.
spooky. I think it's going to be a coin flip on which team makes it, which is pretty accurate to what I've got going. I don't know. I clearly, if you agree, you want to take it. I don't even. It's just a gut feeling. As much as I love my Seahawks, I do that 49ers team continues to be scary as hell.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's I don't know. They're certainly the boogeyman in our closet.
Okay, so I'm like, I have the Seahawks at 12-5 and the Niners at 11-6. I agree with you. I think it'll be a coin flip. I do think the Niners will do worse than they did before, not because their roster is any worse, but because I think not because I don't
Sophomore slump.
entirely have. Yes, exactly. Not good. Like I think Brock Purdy will be pretty good, but I just don't think there's any way he can replicate like stringing off 5 wins. Like I don't think that's going to happen. The Niners have a tough schedule. But moving on to the Seahawks, so do the Seahawks. I do think the Seahawks are very, again, I could see the Seahawks doing worse than this just because they do tend to lose games they should win in the latter half of the year. But I have them going 4-0 I have them going, actually, what is that, 6-1 to start, with the only loss being to the Bengals.
Oh jeez.
Because I do think their schedule is pretty easy.
Yeah.
But
I guess I have them 3. I have them 3-2, and then they crack off another 2, so that'd be 5-2. Oh, they crack off another 4, so they win 4 straight for me in the middle of the season.
yeah, I don't have that.
So I guess I'm pretty high on them too. I have the Seahawks winning a lot in a row and then losing 3 in a row.
I also have them losing 3 in a row. I have them losing. They have a really tough stretch where they go Niners, Cowboys, Niners, Eagles, and I think that will be rough. I have them losing 3 of 4. I have them losing Cowboys, Niners, Eagles, and winning one of the Niners games because I think they will split with the Niners. I don't think that's that controversial.
I had them. Or did I? Did I have them? Yeah, I did have them splitting with the Niners. Okay.
Because that makes sense. I have them sweeping everybody else in their division, but there's just a few games in their schedule that are so tough. I think they'll win some of them. Like, I think they'll win Lions, Giants. I have them beating... actually, I have them beating the Niners once. But then, like, there's some teams that will be really tough for them, like the Eagles, like the Bengals, like the Ravens. I have them losing
Like the
to as well.
Cardinals in Week 18.
Knowing
I
the
don't actually have them
knowing the
losing that, but it'd be
Seahawks,
really
Seahawks, I would not be that shocked, honestly.
Yeah.
But anyways, I have the Seahawks at 2 in the conference, which you could say is homerism, but it's also like a bunch of tiebreakers.
Now, with my revisions, I would have them at 2 as well.
Okay.
I feel like that's too high, even then. Like, you know what's funny? The weird thing about when you pick every single game is you don't... When you because you pointed this out, when you just look at teams and go, I think that's a 10-7 team, I think that's a 12-5. The issue with that is that you end up with just weird records all over the place, right? But so you can't really look at the small picture. But when you just look at the small picture, I feel like you're just missing something there as well, because I don't know, because the more I look at my own rankings, I disagree with them, and I think that's just like that's how it's gonna be. With this whole thing, right?
Yeah.
The one thing I think we can definitely agree on is the fact that this is going to be a fun NFL season.
Yeah.
This is going to be a good one.
There's
There's a lot of really good teams.
Yeah. The separation I have between the Eagles at 1 and the Vikings missing the playoffs at 8 is 3 wins. So, like, saying the Seahawks are at 2, while, like, a gut feeling that feels high, in reality, they won 1 more game than the Niners at 5. I think it's going to be very close, and it's going to be a lot of luck and bounces and injuries that'll determine the seeding of it. I do feel pretty confident, other than the Vikings could slip in and maybe a surprise team. I feel pretty confident in the playoff teams. The seeding could go either way. But with that, Simon, do you want to get into what we had in the playoffs? What do you have your picks for?
Well, I lost mine, so you have to give me a second.
I did too.
Wild card. Okay. Here we go. Are we just doing the NFC side? Then
Yep.
We're going to save
Yep.
the AFC side for next week? Okay, give me a second. Yeah, they'll do that. 1 second.
Here, I'll
Ooh,
say
no,
mine.
no,
I'll say
no.
mine while
Okay.
you're
Sure,
doing
go
it.
nuts.
So
Yeah.
4v5 for me is Lions Niners. I have the Lions winning that game in an upset. Even though they are the higher seed, that would be an upset. I do think they have the gunpowder to get a playoff win off, and the Niners losing in the first round, well, that would be pretty shocking. Like, again, I think, I don't know, we'll see what Purdy's made for. I don't know if he is going to perform all that well in the playoffs. Like I talked about earlier, the Panthers, Giants, the Panthers will have a very good record, but I think they're going to lose that one at home. And then Seahawks, Cowboys, I have the Seahawks taking revenge for their loss earlier in the season and beating the Cowboys in Lumen Field. Those are my wild card round picks.
Okay. I just finished mine, and my second time through it ended up being a lot more interesting than my first. Because I chose different teams to do different things. Ended up being pretty interesting for my wild card. And we're just doing NFC, to be clear, right?
Yep, just
We're
NFC.
just doing
So
the
we'll,
NFC wild
we'll
card,
save we'll save
So-
Super Bowl for later too. We'll save Super Bowl for next week. We'll get up to the conference.
Okay, sure, we can do that. My AFC's interesting. I guess you'll have to tune in next week. Son of a bitch.
I know,
Okay.
right?
Anyway, first off, Vikings versus Carolina Panthers. As high as both of us are on Bryce Young, I don't think they will beat the Vikings in the playoffs. He's gone. I think that the Vikings will make it to the divisional. Next up, I have Giants versus Lions. I have the Lions winning that one. Not really anything. I'm just higher on the Lions than I am the Giants. I think that I trust Jared Goff more than Daniel Jones as a playoff quarterback. And then I have Bears versus Seahawks. Once again, Justin Fields could pull something out of his big old nutsack, but I don't think he will. I think Seattle will probably take it just because they're the better overall team. But who knows? That's definitely a game Seattle could lose as well. My AFC side's a lot more interesting. I feel like my NFC side is a lot more less controversial.
Yeah.
I guess.
Mine is too. I'll move into my divisional
Okay.
picks. So after that, I have the Lions and Seahawks, which will be an interesting game. But I think the Seahawks, just with home field advantage, will pull that one out. And then I have the Eagles and Giants. That one is pretty easy for me. The Eagles will take that one,
Yeah.
and it won't be particularly close.
The funny thing is, me and you have very similar, actually. The only team that's different is that you have the Giants, I have the Vikings.
Yeah.
So that's the only difference. I have the Lions beating the Seahawks. I think that the
Wow,
Lions
okay.
are an overall better team.
I
I'm just higher on the Lions than
I disagree.
I mean, who knows? Who knows? It's not a completely unbeatable game for the Seahawks. The Seahawks could win it as well. I'm not saying it wouldn't be close. I'm saying that I would pick the Lions. If gun to my head, I'm going to pick the Lions. But we both agree on the Eagles. They're going to move on. Eagles versus Vikings.
It's not
skip the
going to
game.
be. Yeah. Even though I do have the
We can-
Vikings beating the Eagles in the regular season, but in the playoffs, I don't think it's going to be close. If that
Okay,
were the
Caleb.
matchup.
Give me your logic for why the Seahawks are going to beat the Eagles in the conference championship.
Okay.
Let's hear
So-
it.
I do have the Seahawks beating the Eagles in the conference championship. Now,
Wait, are you actually?
yes. Now, would this be an upset? Yes. Would this be one of the biggest playoff upsets in the
Oh
last little
my
bit?
God.
Yes. Would is my homerism affecting me a little bit? Yes.
Yes.
With all of that being said, I don't think it's that outlandish.
Oh.
Reason number one,
I think it is.
other than the Chiefs, going back to the Super Bowl back-to-back years is very difficult, especially for a team as young as the Eagles. Even though they are very good and are going to be very good the whole season, I could see them slipping up in a playoff game. It's just hard to replicate that success. Number two, I do think that Pete Carroll is a little bit more of an experienced playoff coach. I do think in these NFC Championship games, I know it's going back a long time, but Seattle historically has a lot of luck. Their kind of stopping point has been the divisional round more than anything. They haven't lost in the conference championship in a very long time. They performed very well. It would suck the fact that they're on the road makes it a little bit tougher, especially playing in Philadelphia. But in the playoffs, things don't always fall as they should. I think it'll be a very close game. I wouldn't be surprised if a game between these two teams goes to overtime. But I do think the Seahawks will get some luck. I think it's hard for the Eagles to replicate.
Listen, I love my boys. I love my boys, but like, I don't know about that one, big dog. It ain't gonna be. I don't know. I don't know. So, like you lost me when you said they're gonna make the conference thing. They'll make the Super Bowl. It's wild. That is a wild prediction, especially considering, oh, that is rough. That is rough as hell. Because I don't know. Because you say you have them beating the Lions, but I have a really tough time even then. And the Lions are worse than the Eagles.
I don't have a tough time with that. I don't have a tough time with that. I think the Seahawks, Niners, and Eagles are the best three teams in the conference. And I think there's a pretty big gap between them and anybody else.
I wouldn't necessarily disagree with that, I guess, because I don't know who else I'd throw in there, I guess. So by that logic, sure. But I don't know, man. That's rough.
I think if the Seahawks have everybody healthy, they just have such a good roster.
Like,
they have, again, their offense is stacked. If Geno plays up to what he did last year, he's got Kenneth Walker in the backfield, Metcalf, Lothric, Smith, and Jigba. Their offensive line stacked with young rookies. They're really good. Their defense is going to be much better than it was last year. They signed Draymond Jones. They got Jaron Reed back. They'll have Jordan Brooks at that point. Bobby Wagner, Nwosu was a sack machine. They've got the new Legion of Boom.
There has to be
Woolen,
some
Adams, and
bias
Diggs.
there.
It is such a stacked roster.
It's a good roster.
Oh,
it's
of course
a good roster.
is.
It's the best roster we've had in years. Is it a Super Bowl roster? I don't know. I don't know.
Did you think the Eagles were a Super Bowl roster before?
No, but I am pretty damn sure now.
Things change, right? Things change.
Sure.
Things
well,
change.
We'll see. We'll see.
I'm not saying. Am I saying that the Seahawks are better than the Eagles? No, I'm not saying that. But one game, winner take all, in January. Could the Seahawks pull it out?
I can't.
I think it'll be close.
I cannot wait to play this on repeat when the Seahawks go 7-10 because Geno forgot how to throw a football over the summer. It's gonna be great.
Simon, let me have my preseason hype.
God.
Let me bask in it while I can.
You know what's the best part about doing these types of predictions? It's the fact that stuff like this happens and we're gonna either these are the two options here. It's a win-lose for you, it's a win-win for me. Because either the Seahawks win the Super Bowl or I get to laugh at your face. And both are terrific options. but for you, either you're right and the Seahawks win the Super Bowl, or you're wrong and just completely way off by a country mile. Like it's that's a wild.
We'll see how it goes. We'll see how it goes.
We'll see how it goes. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
that's like.
I don't think it's.
What are the odds on the Seahawks to win the Super Bowl?
But not high enough.
I hope you're right. Odds to win Super Bowl.
We're at
3,500, 13th ranked.
Low. The Browns have higher odds than us? What do the Browns have higher odds than us? Nah, I'm picking the Seahawks to win the Super Bowl just to spite
you
that.
You put money on that? Okay.
That's awful.
Oh.
Seriously? The Browns?
I'm totally going to make that into a TikTok. I'm totally going to put that prediction out. I want the whole world to know.
It's okay. It's okay.
That's going to be great. Okay. Well, we can end it there. That's our NFC segment. Next week, you can come back and watch us crap on every AFC team. Or maybe say they're a lot better than they actually are. It's going to be great. I think my AFC side's a lot more interesting than my NFC side. And that's not just me trying to convince all the beautiful people out there to come back. That's me truthfully thinking that
Yeah. Well, the AFC
I think
is
the AFC
stacked.
is a lot
The AFC
stronger.
is stacked.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. It's going to be...
I have a team that goes 11-6 and misses the playoffs.
I don't. Do I? No. Maybe. Do I have that? I don't have that. No, I'm not the same. But I do have. What's the lowest ranked team making the playoffs for me? Where's my 8th seed? Where are you, 8th seed? Oh no, never mind. My lowest ranked team making the playoffs is 9-8, which isn't crazy.
Okay.
So it'll be interesting. Tune in next week. So obviously one of the more fun things about the off season as a whole is we get to talk a lot more about quotes than actual sports. Who doesn't love that? But sometimes we get the really fun quotes where we got a sprinter, an American sprinter, talking about how NBA champions shouldn't be considered world champions, which is pretty interesting to me. I think when I heard that, it kind of got me thinking about it because I don't know if I'd ever actually thought about it like that because the NBA, in a sense, you're right. It's just like the North American thing. Are they world champions? Who knows? But I'm curious what your opinion on that is. Like, do you consider, in any sport really, not only just the NBA, like, do you consider the NFL, like the winner of the Super Bowl, to be the world champions? I think that's the argument that's kind of been passed around. Obviously, we could talk a bit more about the players specifically on whether certain NBA players who have won medals in the Olympics are considered world champions, which is kind of where a lot of people are aiming at, but I don't feel like that's as interesting. I don't think that's where the argument actually is. I think it's more, do you consider a win in like the American leagues, like, you know, the North American Big Four leagues, you know what I mean? Do you consider that a world championship win?
So that's tough. I definitely have an opinion, but I do think it's important to outline like the reasoning as to why you'd think both ways. So, Noah Lyles' opinion, obviously, like I pulled up the quote. So he said, "World champion of what? The United States? Don't get me wrong. I love the U.S. at times, but that ain't the world. We are the world." Referring to everybody at the where he was competing, the World Athletics Championship. He says, "We almost have every country out here fighting, thriving, putting on their flag to show they are represented. There ain't no flags in the NBA." And I do think they have a point, because it is very, like, speaking as a Canadian, Americans do sometimes have a tendency to make it all about themselves, and I do think that there is a little bit of that when calling, like, the winner of the Super Bowl the world champion or the winner of the NBA. Because, again, it isn't the world. It's like, is Denver really the best basketball city in the world? No. Is Kansas City the best football city in the world? Maybe. I don't know. That's what's so hard to judge. And I do think... I do think part of this... I'll get into this later. I am a little bit more on Noah Lyles' side, because I just think that world champion is a different title, and it implies something. It implies international competition, because you can't really, I don't think you can be a world champion without competing against other countries. That's what makes it so different. But from the other side, that is the point to be made, that the NBA or the NFL is not just an American league. There are players, especially in the NBA, like Giannis is from Greece, right? Karl Anthony Towns, while from the States, represents Dominican Republic in the Olympics and in the FIBA World Cup. Like,
Doncic,
there's all that stuff.
Slovenia. Where's Doncic from again?
Slovenia. Like, you've got so many players that are from different countries. They're not just all American.
The NBA has more European stars than ever right now.
Yeah.
Like, more stars from all over the planet. I think when you're making that argument, because you're right, there are two sides, and I will make the two arguments right here, because it's as simple as, are they championship of the world just because they're taking on the best in the world? Is that what that means? Like, what do you define as a world champion, I guess? Do you define that as somebody who wins a medal or wins something for their country? Like, is the best, like, competing against other countries and wins, is that a world champion? Or is it more... Do you define it as just beating the best?
Yeah.
Which is a really interesting idea to me. The weird thing is, I remember as a kid, because I'm Canadian. Every kid in the world dreams of winning the Stanley Cup, right? Like, the funny thing is, I feel like as a kid, I dreamed more of representing Canada in the Olympics because that was always so cool to me. Because you obviously, I got to watch Sidney Crosby do it in 2010 and like the 2014 Sochi Olympics as well. Like all of that stuff was so cool to me as a kid that I thought that was bigger than winning the Stanley Cup because they're representing their country, which is kind of the other argument there, right? There's something that almost feels more special when you win something that isn't just for you. You're not just winning it personally or winning it for a team or just a city. You're winning it for a whole country, which I always thought as a kid was super cool. So there's that argument too. There's so many parts in it. There's so many parts to that that's super interesting. I think that's why I'm almost on the fence on it, right? Because like I said, obviously there's the argument that they are taking on the best in the world and therefore they can be called a world champion because they beat the best in the world, right? But they didn't win it for their country, which is like, I don't know. Like, that's what I mean. I think I'm on the fence. I have a foot on both sides, I guess.
Yeah, and I think I do too. Because it's really, when you get down to it, it's a semantic difference. It's nothing. Yep. It's like you outlined. Does playing against the best players in the world make you a world champion or just representing your country? And I do think I'm more on the side that representing your country does, not to downplay the accomplishments of the NBA champions or the Super Bowl champions or the World Series champions or anything like that. I'm not doing that to downplay their accomplishments. However, I think when you say world, it is implying that you're getting other countries involved and you're representing where you come from. Whereas NBA champion implies something else. Because again, nobody from the Denver Nuggets is actually from Denver. And I think
True.
when you bring in that world champions title, it kind of implies that you're playing for a place because you're aiming to be the best in the world. So that's where, again, if you want to make the argument that NBA champions are, I'm not going to get too mad about it because I do think it's a semantic difference. Where I do get a little bit mad is these NBA stars that came out against this and are just so butthurt about it. It's like
That's true.
you are Kevin Durant. You have already won the NBA Finals twice. You have beaten the best players in the world, and everybody knows that. And you're taking time out of your day to like trash Noah Lyles on Instagram, like Draymond and
the thing
Aaron
is,
Gordon. It's just like
I feel like the idea. People are focusing too much on the first part and not the second part. Because I don't think he was trying to undermine what NBA players have done. Yeah. He was trying to bring up the athletes that win these gold medals and these championships, these actual world athletic championships, right?
Yeah.
He was trying to bring that up instead of... Well, and sure, he might have tried to bring down the NBA with it. But I feel like... I don't think that was necessarily his goal. He wasn't shooting for the NBA players, trying to take their livelihood. Like, he was trying to bring up all of these athletes who don't get enough attention for winning these absolutely insane, for just winning in whatever sport they've won in. I think what he was trying to do is very respectable. And I like it a lot. I think it drew a lot of attention to something that I don't know if a lot of people knew it was going on. Yeah. I did because I remember hearing about I believe her name's Richardson. She broke the 100-meter women's record at it. So that's why I knew it was going on. So I'm sure some people also did. But obviously this quote brought a lot more people's attention to it because you shot at something everybody likes. So you're gonna get the attention you want, which is what he wanted. He wanted to bring the attention in, and he got it.
Yeah,
so
and
I'm not butthurt about it.
I do think that it just sucks that point has been lost because all of these NBA players have gotten butthurt about it. Like, again, you put it perfectly. He wasn't trying to. We don't think he was really trying to attack the NBA as much, and it sucks that it's kind of being taken that way. Another argument that I did just
I think that the only way anybody would have heard it is if he made an argument like that.
That's
if he
true.
just came out, think about it like this. Like, I'm gonna find 1 second. When you just quote, if he had just started with, "We are the world. We have almost every country out here fighting, thriving, putting on their flag to show what they are represented." Would that have made it anywhere?
No, it definitely wouldn't have. And I think
No, because that's how it works. Yeah.
it's true. And again, I do think it is a good point. And one of the to kind of shift it a little bit, one of the other points that you could bring to his side is just how many people know about the sport. So there's a reason that in like soccer or football, like not American football, the World Cup is like those are the world champions, and it's not anybody who wins like the Premier League or anything like that, because soccer is so universally played and recognized that you have to go international to actually say these are the world champions. I think a point that another point you can say for Noah Lyles is that some of these sports, basketball and baseball less so, but like football especially, it is a little bit one-sided to say that the people on the American teams are the world championships, because you don't know how good anybody else could be if people in Asia
Actually
or Europe
played it in
were
other countries.
yeah, and if it was as brought up, because it depends what you're brought up in, right? I think that could be another one of the points that he makes. Like those sports aren't as international as something like what he's doing, like sprinting or track and field or any one of the Olympic type sports that people are actually like training up and competing at for the purpose of going into international competition. But
Yeah.
again,
I just keep going back in my head back to hockey, because I feel like hockey's like the perfect one there. Because sure, basketball's had its European stars, right? But hockey's really had that for like sure, maybe like it's still not been a long time. It's probably been like 30 years like that we've really had a lot of European stars coming over. It started with Russians coming over from what's the term? You know what I mean though.
Yeah,
in the late
Iron
80s
Curtain.
leaving.
Past the Iron Curtain.
There you go. Yeah, like it started with that, and now we have just a ton of European talent, and it's not just as sure it's still Canadian dominated, but it's not as Canadian dominated as it used to be, and now it's a lot more. I think it almost makes it makes it more fun. I think there is more there. As someone who grew up playing hockey, it's not as simple as, because every time you bring all the NBA players from America to play in the Olympics for basketball, golly gosh, I wonder who's going to win most of the time, right? Like, it's not that, but with hockey, we've seen Canada lose multiple times. Canada lost in the 80s tons because the Russians were nuts. Yeah. Like, they had one of the best hockey teams ever assembled. Like, that makes it a lot more interesting. I think that's, when it comes to stuff like that, I think it really, like, personally, I don't think Stanley Cup does mean world champion. I think that an Olympic medal does.
Yeah.
I on that side I fall onto that. I definitely, with that, I'm a lot more opinionated on. But when it comes to other sports where it's, I don't know. Maybe I am more on the side of Olympics, and I feel like I maybe agree more with Noah Lyles. The more I think about it, the more I think I agree with Noah Lyles than the other side of the argument. But there's definitely two sides to it. Definitely two sides to it. I think just the way I grew up, just like idolizing the idea of like winning that gold medal for your country, right? Like, because I was obviously in hockey, but also like when I was younger, I used to do long distance running. My dream was making the Olympics and winning a medal. Like even in that, right? Like I think that I just value winning something for your country higher as a real world champion than an actual like than just winning the NBA championship. Not devaluing that obviously, but it's just it has different meaning behind it, I guess.
It does, and I think that's what the Noah Lyles is trying to get at in terms of the distinction for a world champion. And I would agree with it. And I just think the biggest takeaway for me from it all is it really is just semantics. And it's just my biggest I'm not going to be mad either way.
It's a dumb argument.
I'm not going to be mad either way. Argument. But the fact that some of these American NBA stars are coming out and just like going off on it, that's the part that's kind of upsetting to me, because are you really going to get that mad about a semantic difference? I don't know. Like Kevin Durant, you can't go choose to play for another country because they have better players. Like, I don't know.
True. That's true. Yep.
Not that would be much of a problem.
The comment,
for them, but...
the comment from Aaron Gordon made me laugh though. That one's funny. Whatever, I'm smoking Buddy in the 200 meter.
sure, buddy.
That made me laugh when I read that. But yeah, it's an interesting. It's a whole thing.
Yeah, it really is, and it's the kind of thing that gets big in the off season. Again, good for Noah Lyles for making the headlines about it. It's an interesting conversation to have, but it's the kind of conversation you have in the off season.
Yep, it's fun. We're having fun out here.
Yep. Some more news with the most exciting player in baseball, and kind of unfortunate news. The very thing that makes Shohei Ohtani unique is his dual threat ability, the fact that he is an ace pitcher and an absolute slugger. But the fact is that when you play that much in a game that has as many games as baseball, injuries are going to happen, especially at the pitcher position with how much you're wearing on your arm. And unfortunately for Ohtani, that happened this week. He suffered a torn UCL in his throwing arm, which likely means that he will be out for the rest of the year and potentially going into free agency next year, having played his last game for the Angels. Obviously terrible news for Ohtani. It really sucks that he can't finish up the season, especially with how well he's doing. But overall, it does have big implications going forward for free agency, for the future of the Angels, for his future, for the future of the rest of the MLB, really. So with that in mind, what do you think about this whole situation, Simon?
It's really interesting because I'm trying to read a bit more into the injury just as we're going. But this will be his second time potentially needing Tommy John surgery. It hasn't been announced fully as of... I'm not sure exactly when this would have been made. This article wouldn't have been made. I can double check that. As of today, the 28th? Today is the 29th. So as of the 28th, so yesterday, it wasn't necessarily known if he'd need Tommy John surgery, but it would have been his second time needing it, which for most pitchers is not a very good thing. It's a very bad thing. And luckily, they're saying that it's he obviously it happened in 2018 the first time when he needed it. He tore his UCL. So this is his second time technically doing it. But they are saying it's a different part of his UCL, which is interesting. So, but they are not sure what type of tear it is. So the actual severity of the injury isn't yet known. It is pretty much agreed upon that he's done for the year. So I don't know how much it actually matters other than he'll probably be back for next year. I don't think that's less controversial. But I think it's going to be interesting to see how this impacts free agency and what Ohtani does in the future, because obviously two Tommy John surgeries, like I said, not very good for a pitcher, but he's not just a pitcher, right? So maybe he could make the decision to try and prolong his MLB career by just becoming a hitter. I think that has to be in the conversation. I think I don't know if he will go that way because I feel like that destroys. Obviously, he's still an insane hitter, but he's not. That's half of his value is in the pitching as well, right? So I don't know. It's a really interesting situation, and it sucks. We were talking about that before. I do really want to hit that because there's a chance he had a chance for the Triple Crown, and he lost it, and that hasn't been done in pretty much a decade. I think over a decade now. I think it would have been
Cabrera, yeah.
Last. Yeah, I like. He had the chance to join that club, and it sucks. This whole thing sucks because I am definitely not an Angels fan, but that doesn't mean that I wanted to see something like this. Like, whenever you see talents to his level go down hurt, it doesn't matter. You could be the Angels' biggest rival, and you'd still probably hate it.
Well, yeah. I mean, as a Mariners fan, I hate the Angels, but it still sucks to see a player as good as Ohtani go down. And the fact that it's his second Tommy John surgery is really rough because it's a pretty exclusive club.
It's a rough situation.
And yeah, there's obviously it can still be successful. There's players who have had it, so like Jacob deGrom has gone through 2, Walker Buehler's going through 2. There's I don't want to mess up his name, but Ryu, the pitcher on the Blue Jays, had it twice.
Yeah. With his being a little bit more, He hasn't come back that successfully. So,
which is obviously
like,
tough.
yeah, it's a hard conversation to have because obviously when you're talking about DeGrom and Bueller, it's not like they were going, okay, well maybe you can come back as a hitter.
No.
I think that conversation has to be happening with Ohtani though, because he doesn't need to pitch.
Yeah.
If you're the Angels, do you want him to keep pitching? You just lost your best hitter because he wanted to pitch. I feel like, and that's not me trying to take away from Ohtani's pitching ability, not at all. All I'm trying to say is, is it worth the injury risk to potentially if you're gonna be losing Ohtani this late in the year? Is his pitching really that worth it? I guess he's still an all-star pitcher. I don't know. If I was the Angels general manager or whatever team Ohtani moves to in the offseason, I feel like I'd be shutting down the pitching.
It's a tough conversation to have because then you also say, okay, if he's not pitching anymore, does that lower his value in free agency? I don't know. I don't remember where I saw it, but there was somewhere that was saying that this injury could have cost him as much as $100 million on his next contract, which is insane, but it's not that far off. Like when you're losing that big of a part of your game, then it's the kind of thing where you have to say like, it's not looking good.
The funny thing is, Ohtani is arguably the best hitter in baseball right now, which is nuts to think about it, considering he's also arguably one of the best pitchers in baseball right now.
Yeah.
But with what is going to get him paid, like because 100%, you're losing 50% of what you would potentially be buying. I think whether Ohtani makes the decision next season that he still wants to pitch or not is going to determine how much money he gets. I think.
Well, even with the injury, you're scared that he's not going to get back to that same form. It's going to cost him money either way.
Yeah, it's going to suck. This is the worst situation for Ohtani.
Yeah.
The Angels are probably wishing they just traded him at the trade deadline. Like there's no winning here. Like this just sucks. This just like I don't know where you go from here with Ohtani. Because
some team's gonna take a chance on him because he's Ohtani, but it's such a big chance though at this point. Because of that injury, like 2 Tommy John surgeries is nothing to laugh at. Like one of those surgeries can mess your career up big time. And 2 of them...
And we've seen it mess up careers. Yeah, like we're talking about how bad 2 can be, but 1 is usually enough to really, really just... That can be it for a lot of people. Like, there's a lot of examples of careers being ended by stuff as simple as that, right? And now it's happening twice. You want to roll the dice that much?
Yeah.
Like, at a certain point, you have to... Sure, he's losing money by maybe not pitching, but, like, maybe he's saving money by not risking injury again. Like, maybe he's prolonging his career and arguably making more money from that, right? Like, if we're just talking about it like that, then it's...
Yeah,
sucks.
It's really... It sucks. And there's the other thing, too, that... reading up more on Tommy John surgery, it takes about 12 to 15 months for pitchers to come back. 6 months for position players. Is that another thing where you say he shouldn't be pitching again, at least for the foreseeable future? I don't know.
Yeah.
It's a tough thing.
I think that's an even better argument for why he probably shouldn't pitch again.
Just because of how bad the recovery is, because pitching is not throwing that many pitches at 100
and that's
miles an
also
hour.
Assuming that that's also assuming that the recovery isn't worse considering it's the second time.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if there's any research on that, but
yeah, so
I think
there is. So by 2009, the odds of complete recovery are about 85 to 92%, which is pretty good. 80% of players return to pitching at the same level before the surgery, which is a really good rate. But at the same time, another stat is for Major League Baseball pitchers to receive the surgery twice, 35% never pitch again in the major leagues. And it's obviously not going to happen for Ohtani. Who knows? Because of how unique the situation is, it could just become a hitter.
Yeah,
but it's not like
I don't know.
he's not going to get kicked out of the league. So it would be a little bit tough for me to see that he never pitches again. But at least a little bit. But
there's not a team in this league that wouldn't want him at DH.
No, it's true. And because again, he is the best hitter in baseball, according to going by on base percentage, and
according to everything.
Yeah, according to everything, really. And then by ERA, he is the 8th best pitcher in the entire league, which is saying something.
Which is still insanely impressive.
Yeah.
Yeah, like he is by far before this injury the most valuable player, and it's not even close.
Yeah.
Like, just like overall, if this injury hadn't happened, we would have seen the biggest contract we probably would have ever seen in baseball.
Yeah.
For a long time too.
Yep.
Like, there is nobody. He's arguably 2 times more valuable than any other player in the league before this injury. That's why it sucks for Ohtani.
It's such a big.
Like,
it's such a big thing.
His value just got cut in half.
Yeah. Because he lost half of. He could potentially be losing half of this entire game.
You want to hear the funniest thing? The half he still has is more valuable than probably any other player in the MLB still.
Yeah.
Like, it's nuts.
It'll certainly be interesting to see. Hopefully, if he does have to get the surgery, it goes well, and he's able to return to form at some point next year. Hopefully, he still gets. I mean, he's still going to get a lot of money, but hopefully, he's not losing too much because of this injury, because that sucks. But we'll have to.
We'll have to see.
He's going to lose a lot. We'll have to see how much it is. It's still going to be astronomically high, but it's not going to be as high as it could have been.
Do you think the lower amount of money it increases his chance of going back to the Angels, or do you think it keeps it the same?
If I'm Ohtani, I don't want to go back there, not for money reasons, but for winning reasons. So I don't really think it does.
Yeah. Well, I also agree with you. I think if anything, this kind of gives an idea of how long that he potentially has to like continue playing like this. Like, even if he wants to do, both, like keep playing both sides of the ball. I think that he's probably gonna. I don't know. I think he's gonna want to go to I think this increases his chances of leaving. I actually agree with you. I think that if anything, this shows that he might not have as long of a prime as he might hope, and maybe staying on a team like the Angels isn't what's best for him, for his career and legacy as a whole. So we're gonna see Ohtani on the Yankees.
God no. God help us all. Thank you, everybody, so much for watching the Truck Play Podcast this week, especially with our NFC predictions. That was a solid segment. If you liked what you saw there, make sure to tune in next week, because we've got something even more exciting for you with AFC predictions, and then after that, we'll have you covered for the entire NFL season. So if you like the NFL stuff as much as I do, then make sure to continue tuning in. Make sure to follow us everywhere. We are on Instagram. We're on YouTube. We're on Twitter now. We're on everywhere where you can find us. We've got we've got TikTok too. That's another good one. And we're on every.
We got it all.
We got it all. Every podcast platform that you could ever want. Make sure you're following us there and everywhere. So to end it off, there's a couple different ways I can go with my shout out for the week, and I'm gonna begrudgingly give my shout out for the week to the Edmonton Elks for finally snapping the longest home losing streak in CFL history. I believe it was 22 games. And they finally pulled it off by beating Ottawa at home by a pretty significant margin. So now, I don't want to give the Elks too much credit as a Stampeders fan, because I don't like praising them, and the fact that there are now one win back of the Stampeders makes me very nervous. But I'm instead of focusing on them being good, I am instead going to lambaste Chris Jones, the coach and GM of the Edmonton Elks, for not starting Trey Ford sooner. Trey Ford, got his first start after showing so much promise. He was drafted in the first round as a quarterback a couple years ago, and while CFL draft obviously isn't the same as the NFL draft, still important. He played really well, got hurt last year, and then this year he's fully healthy, and instead they just choose to not start him. And wow, shocker, they lose their first 9 games. Then they start Trey Ford, and now they are undefeated since they've started Trey Ford. Chris Jones is one of the stupidest people known to man for not starting him sooner. And he's just a stupid coach anyways. I don't understand the reasoning behind that. I'm glad he did it because I love seeing the Elks suffer, but when you have a quarterback like that sitting on your bench the entire season, and you could have stopped yourself from becoming the laughingstock of not only the CFL but all of sports, like, Chris Jones, do better. Like, or maybe don't do better. You know what? I hope Chris Jones stays with that team for as long as he possibly can, because as long as he's there, they're not going to be doing anything good.
Okay, damn right. Yeah. I don't know. I don't have a shout out. I didn't think about it that much. Shout out to San Pellegrino. I recently discovered they're like blood orange, like
those are good. Those are
sparkling
good.
drink. They slap.
Those are
They're
good.
so good. All of my money are going into those now.
Is this your new peace tea, Simon?
I'm currently actually drinking a peace tea and not one of those because funny thing about those San Pellegrino things, they cost a lot of money, and Simon no got a lot of money. So I bought a box of these, and I'm trying to make them last. I'm currently down to like the last 2. I bought it like 3 days ago. It's a problem, but yeah, no. I'm currently drinking a peace tea. These slept too. Simon's drink recommendations at the end.
So in conclusion, everybody, you need to subscribe to us so that we eventually get big enough to make money to fuel Simon's San Pellegrino and peace tea addiction.
Damn right. Now that is something that you can support. That's something you can support. Use the code that we won't talk about yet. Next week, big announcement, probably.
Maybe. We'll see how it goes.
Maybe. We'll see how it goes. Yeah. Taxes are a funny thing. We'll see. Okay.
All right.
Thanks for watching.
Yeah. See you next week, everybody.